Hello and welcome. My name is Matt. I'm the community lead at Diffit for Teachers, and I'm here with Shannon Aguilar. I'm super excited to chat with you and learn from you today. I was sharing with you a little bit earlier. I get really excited when I get the opportunity to hear you speak about your work and what you care about and how you support students and how Diffit has helped you, not just with specific resources, but really deepen your sort of like pedagogical grounding and your values and the way you orient yourself as an instructor and supporter for students and for other teachers. So really excited to give you an opportunity to share some of that with other teachers in our community today. Could you start us off by saying hi and introducing yourself and talking a little bit about your role, what you do day to day, and maybe a little bit about your community, where you are, who you serve, and what's kind of valuable to you in your work?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to share my perspective and what I do. So I'm Shannon Aguilar. I am an MLL specialist is my title. I'm at a DC charter network, EL Haynes. So I work with middle and high school there. So my background, I've been a career MLL teacher. That's something I've been passionate about ever since I started learning how to teach. I kind of fell into the field just through different college experiences, like writing tutor, tutoring students from different countries, and then being able to see students in the classroom. The thing that just fit for me was teaching multilingual learners. It's definitely been my passion. It's been my entire career for the last 14 years. So definitely something I'm still passionate about. That's hugely important. Really, I think what really speaks to me about this work is really working with the students just who are so resilient and so positive and passionate, and they have, especially students who have to work twice as hard as everybody else to get to the same place. And just it's really inspired me and really inspired me to push for those students and to advocate for them. So that's something that's definitely important to me, and for what I do, that kind of keeps me driving forward.
Cool. That's beautiful. Yeah, I think from our first conversation, I totally got that about you. It's about the students. It's about who they are, where they come from, and ensuring that all of our students in our classrooms have opportunities to learn and succeed and grow and move forward. So I wonder if you could tell, or if you could share a little bit more about those students, those communities. You use the letters MLL, and that may be new, maybe a new kind of term for some people. And I've heard you talk about SLIFE students and some other populations of young people. So the work that you do day to day, how you support teachers, can you just sort of take us all the way back to the beginning? And who are these students? What do we need to know about them? What drives you to advocate, like you said, and support them in the ways that you do?
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, I can do a little bit of a breakdown. I know, of course, in education, there are so many acronyms. I'm just used to speaking with those. So I can break down what those acronyms are and what they mean for our students, and then how we support them. So for MLL is short for Multilingual Learner. That's the more, I guess, updated term for ESL, for English as Second Language,
Okay.
because most of our students don't only have two languages. Many have three or four or five. So it was really kind of inaccurate to use ESL. So we've switched to multilingual learner. So then, and also it kind of takes away the favoritism towards English, because all languages are special and valid. So it really kind of showcasing what our students can do. Language is their superpower. So really coming at it from a positive way. So that's what that acronym means. If you see that more frequently in the education field, MLL. So there are definitely different types of language learners that we work with on a daily basis. So I guess what most people think about when they think about a language learner would be a newcomer, somebody who is new to the country, who is kind of beginning their journey, learning English, learning language. So those are students who need the most support, the most special kind of strategies. So within newcomers as well, there are different kind of levels of that. So some newcomers come with a lot of education in their first language, so they have a little bit of an easier time picking up a new language, and some don't. Some students did not have the chance to receive education in their home countries for many reasons. These war, political issues, poverty, also just dangers of moving around in some areas that weren't safe. So for many, many reasons, not everyone received their education before. So then they do need some special strategies to help. And those are, we call them SLIFE students. If you've seen the acronym SLIFE, those are students with limited or interrupted formal education. So those definitely need special strategies, and Diffit has really helped us to bridge the gap for those students in particular. We also have most of our students are LTEL, so LTEL, and those are long-term English learners. So I think most people think of MLLs as people coming from other countries, but actually it's not really the case. A lot of our students are first-generation students who were born in the United States, whose parents came from other countries, but then they, even though they're native English speakers, in a lot of cases, their academic language kind of hits a ceiling at a certain point. So they may not have the same advantages that students who are kind of born into the country for many generations have. So a lot of times their parents may not know how to navigate the college system. They may not have the academic vocabulary to help them outside of school, things like that. So they do have a couple of pieces that we need to be considerate of. And I think a lot of people see those students and they're like, oh, they're language learners, but they speak English. Like they're fine. They don't need any extra help. But there are some of those gaps that are a little bit harder to see. So we really do want to focus on giving those students the support that they need and not just kind of like washing over them. So that's also been a big part of what we do. So we serve a really wide range of language learners.
That's fascinating. And I think, I appreciate the gentle way that you're sort of breaking down. I think a lot of teachers have assumptions about where students are coming from, what their backgrounds might be, everything from thinking critically about what education looks like in other countries to the value of literacy across languages. Because you're right, students have literacy. They'll have a variety of literacies. They may look different. They may not be what we're used to, be what standardized tests are assessing. And so our job then is to figure out how to meet them where they're at and encourage them along in these multiple journeys, right? We want them to retain their culture, their language. We also want to bring them along in our education system here and give them all the opportunities that are available to them. So I would love to hear, in addition to this background, and I know so many gen ed teachers now are thankful to you for explaining that. But in your experience, because I know you do a lot of work as a coach and you work with other teachers.
I do.
What might be some sort of like top recommendations, top things to think about, and maybe breaking down some of these assumptions? What are ways that gen ed teachers can do more to support these students in our classroom?
I think a big part is really kind of understanding students' individual backgrounds and needs. So definitely, I think there's not really a one size fits all with accommodations. So that's something I know I've seen a lot of either over-scaffolding or under-scaffolding. And that's with my MLL teachers, with my gen ed teachers. I support both. So that's something that I've definitely seen a lot of, either not having enough support and like kind of assuming, oh, all students should be reading at a grade level of content, which we do want to provide that, but then not all students are able to access that without accommodations. And also the opposite, I've also seen of over scaffolding. So like translating everything or making everything way easier. And then students are not actually getting the content that they need to learn. So there is a happy medium, and it really depends on each student. It does take some work to really make sure that every student has what they need. So some students may need like translated version to help them then to work in English. Some may need a lower reading level to access the content and know what's going on. And others may not need as much of that. So it's really kind of thinking about the data you have on students, so what you know about them, and also the observations and what you've seen from working with students, and really using that to inform your instructional decisions. So it does take a little effort, but it's definitely worth really trying to make sure that each student has what they need. And like the big piece of that is the access to the content. So it's going to look different for different students. So some students may need, again, they may need the translations, they may not, they may need a lower reading level, they may not. So I think really looking at the data and also working with other educators, right? None of us are working alone anymore. Like we do have plenty of, people like me, I know coaches, administrators, fellow teachers. I know sometimes our coworkers are the best resource we have. So definitely it's really a team effort. So reaching out, if you're not sure what to do for a student, like reaching out to a coach or to a colleague or someone else who has that expertise who can help. Really like working together as a team is the best asset that we have to support our multilingual learners.
I love that. Yeah. And I think it can sometimes be hard, especially like, from my experience, right? There's this pressure, at least I remember having this pressure on myself that I should know how to do this, and as a teacher, I care about students. I want them to all be successful. I would never intentionally like scaffold too much or scaffold too little or do the wrong thing for any of these students. And so sometimes it's maybe intimidating or embarrassing to reach out to the MLL specialist in the building or to the special ed consultant and say, I need some help. So I really appreciate that reminder that like we're a team, we're here for the students. These students have a team working around them for a reason. I guess I will invite you. You mentioned Diffit a little bit earlier, and we are here. We met each other because of Diffit, which I super appreciate.
Of course, yeah.
And so as an extension, we like to think of Diffit as an extension of that team. So I am kind of interested in where you've seen that come into play in your work with teachers, in your work with students. Where has Diffit been helpful? And what are your recommendations to other teachers who might be going to Diffit in addition to going to other teachers in their building to support their MLL students?
Yeah, absolutely. Diffit really has been a game changer for us in the middle school and the high school that I'm supporting. We've been able to leverage it for different purposes very effectively so far. It's really exciting. So for the middle school, we've used it a lot for our intervention periods. So I don't know if some schools have WIN, like what I need, kind of like intervention period. So we have specialized multilingual learner periods that our teachers run. So we've been actually able to use Diffit to help support those. So then teachers don't have to make their whole curriculum for it. So we've really focused on academic content for our MLL students and giving them extra at-bats with that. And Diffit has been fantastic for that. So teachers can type in a topic about social studies or about science, and then they can just get materials that they can curate and they can personalize. So then they can have that ready very soon. And it also is good preparation for our access testing. So then students are getting more exposure to the academic type of literacy and reading that they're going to see on the test. So that's been a really helpful piece that our teachers have really appreciated. And even I think beyond MLL, I know our SPED teachers have seen our MLL teachers using it. We're like, oh, what is that? What's that cool thing? And so I've been able to get more teachers on, even just from just like seeing it word of mouth. It's kind of spread that way. So for interventions and for our MLL and SPED, especially for students who like are newcomers who you really need extra modifications or translations or things, it's been super helpful for our exceptional populations. And in high school, it's really been valuable to bridge the gap for, we do have like some SLIFE students, who are juniors and who are sitting in government and chemistry and didn't learn to read until they got here. So at the beginning of the year, they were like it's like night and day now, very lost, no idea what's going on. They have to literally read the Declaration of Independence or read about like molecules and Newton's law of motion. They have no idea what's going on. So that's kind of where the need for Diffit came from. I had a lot of like teachers and administrators asking like, what can we do to support these students? Because as you mentioned, of course, we want our students to succeed. I mean, everybody wants to make sure that all their students are learning. So that's really where it came from, was from teachers and administrators asking for help of like, what can we do? And so this was a fantastic tool for MLL teachers. It's great because then we know we can use our expertise to modify, but then also for content teachers, once they kind of sit down and have a little training, I would sit down with teachers in like 30 minutes, they're ready to start making materials and start getting ready to go. It's really easy for teachers to pick up and use. So then now teachers are telling me, oh, hey, like I'm able to bring my students into the content and they know what's going on and their grades are going up. So it's really helped with that access piece and that equity piece so that all students, regardless of their linguistic background, can access content material and be successful. So it's really been a fantastic change. And I'm really happy to see the students who I saw falling through the cracks last year, like are really starting to be able to succeed. So it's really been fantastic.
So you're seeing the impact. You're seeing student growth.
Oh, absolutely. Right. Yeah. I kind of piloted a little bit with some of our students, some of our SLIFE students or the newcomer students. So I took some Diffit materials and put them at the grade level for the students. And I was able to sit with them and kind of work with them. And then these students who before were just like totally checked out were working. They were asking questions. They were reading the content. They were working with the vocabulary. Like I was working with them and they were like attention, their heads were up. They weren't going to the bathroom like this. And then teachers saw them. They're like, oh, wow, I didn't know these kids could do that. So like really enabling students to show what they can do by giving them the content at a level that they can access is huge. It's a game changer. So that's really where it kind of came from, was piloting it and showing what the student, and not just what Diffit can do, what the students can do with Diffit as a tool. So that's really kind of our launch pad. And so we're trying to really spread that. And then also for teachers too, it's been helpful. I know one of our MLL teachers has been unfortunately ill the last couple of weeks and she hasn't been able to come in, but then her team teachers or content teachers are like, oh, well, I can still go on Diffit and I can still like modify the lessons like she would. So it really enables everybody to be able to support students and then not to have to worry about, well, what am I going to do without her? like it really empowers all teachers to be able to support
Like,
exceptional learners.
that's great. Like, kind of substituting in, and I'm super excited about what this means for teachers. Like, your experience, it sounds like it's been incredible supporting students, but also inspiring teachers and helping teachers realize, one, that these students are capable, and that, you know, with
Mhm.
the right support, with the right instruction, students can and will. And I think it's easy to, you know, sort of get bogged down and forget that, or not keep that front of mind. So I'm so glad that this tool is helpful in helping educators sort of remember that and feel inspired that they can do it. And then to think that you've had educators who have now been on this journey and have learned from the MLL leaders in the building, and now in a moment where that person is not able to be there, those teachers still feel confident enough to apply what they've learned. We love that Diffit has been part of not just student support, but also professional learning and empowering teachers to be able to meet students' needs. So what a cool story. Thanks for sharing that. You said earlier that this takes a little bit more work, and it does. If we want to super serve students, if we want to do everything possible to ensure that our students have equitable access to learning, it's going to take a little bit more work. And you also said it's going to be worth it. It's going to feel really good. So do you have a moment in mind, maybe recently, where you have felt that, where there's been some work and it has felt really worth it, that could kind of close out this conversation?
I think there's been kind of just little pockets with introducing
Yeah.
Diffit. So yeah, we do still have work to be able to really use everything it can do to combine with the knowledge and research of learning. But yeah, I think kind of like I know I already kind of touched on working with students who were kind of before just really not able to access content, or they were really like kind of just like, oh well, they can't do XYZ, but then being able to sit with them and then just, like see them be able to engage and to really be into the content was just really like fantastic. Like I really enjoyed it. And that's one thing too about not being in the classroom every day. Sometimes I do miss that. I do miss getting to work with kids and see them grow. And so that was really something like to be able to see that and then to show like how other teachers can then replicate that was really, I think, very powerful. And also for administrators too. So we have administrators who want to learn more about MLL practices. And so showing them like this is a tool that can help your teachers do that, I think was also very impactful. And they're grateful for that help as well. So yeah, I think really just trying to kind of rewrite the script for a lot of our kids and really seeing, again, students who were kind of written off at some points and really looking at what they can do. And especially like you mentioned, thinking about literacy is not just reading, but also like language building. I know we have one student in particular who I think is from Senegal and speaks Wolof and did not learn how to read it, but has really strong oral skills. So it's funny to see him like he has a hard time reading, but then he can answer once he knows what's going on. He can tell you everything. He can make inferences. He can use all these great academic skills, but just orally. But that still counts. It's still literacy. It still helps, and he's been
Absolutely.
able to make some progress this year. Like with Diffit is one of those tools. So he's one in particular. I've been kind of excited to see his progress and hear teachers go, "Oh my gosh! Like he did all these really cool things today and did all of this." And so that's one thing. Like on his hearing, especially when teachers tell me, and I have a teacher say, "Oh my gosh, I used Diffit with these students, and then I did this really cool thing, or I was able to use it to help me with my lesson plans." And just like I like when teachers or like kind of come up to me, like, "Oh my gosh, I did this really cool thing." I think that's kind of what gives me joy, seeing other teachers have a better experience and an easier time in the profession because of Diffit and because of the tools. I think that's really the big thing too, is making sure that teaching is sustainable, because I think a lot of us know it's very difficult to continue to stay in the classroom year after year with all the demands that are put on our plate. And so this is something that really can just make that a little bit easier and make sure that we can put our attention into the teaching and not just in creating materials and for hours and hours on end. And that's one thing that's really been fantastic, is things that I took, I mean, it used to take me hours to modify content to different levels for my students. And now Diffit can do that in minutes. So I think just being able to give teachers back that time and that energy is really impactful as well.
It's really, really cool to hear that we get to be part of that. And it also sounds like you just have such an incredible community in your building, in your district, your network, where you have diverse students coming from all over the world and teaching teachers and learning and growing. And I love that. And it sounds like you also work with a group of adults who are open to collaboration and excited about growing their own professional journey as well as supporting students. So I'm just super grateful that Diffit gets to be a part of that. I'm super grateful to hear you speak about it. I love that you stay energized by seeing students learn and seeing teachers learn. And I appreciate you being willing to come on here and share these stories with us and hopefully inspire some other teachers. And we'll stay in touch. And I'm really excited to continue to learn from you and feature a lot of the work that you're doing. Thanks for everything that you do. Thanks for the support you offer to teachers. Thanks for being a part of our community. And thanks for this conversation. I really, truly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to anything we can do to make an impact. I'm happy to share and try to spread some joy in education for sure. There's still a lot of great things to accomplish. So I think it takes every single one of us to do that. So thank you so much for having me.